What's up, guys? Today, we're diving into something that'll blow your mind. The world's most mysterious unsolved cases. We're talking about events that have left experts scratching their heads for decades, even centuries. These are the cases that keep investigators awake at night. Get ready, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see reality. These aren't just stories. They're real events that have never been explained. Let's start with one of the most infamous mysteries of all time. A place where ships and planes seem to vanish into thin air. Picture this: a perfectly normal day in the Atlantic Ocean, between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Clear skies, calm seas, and then, poof, entire ships and planes just disappear. Welcome to the Bermuda Triangle, folks, where over 1,000 people have vanished without a trace in the past 100 years. Here's the crazy part. We're not just talking about small boats getting lost. We're talking about massive ships, military aircraft, and even a whole squadron of 5 US Navy bombers. The most mind-blowing case: Flight 19, December 5th, 1945. 5 experienced pilots, routine training mission. Their last radio message? Everything looks strange. Even the ocean doesn't look right. Then, nothing. Even the rescue plane sent to find them vanished. But wait, it gets weirder. The USS Cyclops, a massive 542-foot naval cargo ship, disappeared in 1918 with 306 people aboard. No distress call, no debris, nothing. Just gone. Even today, with all our technology, we still find ships in this area with their entire crew missing. Their last meals still set on tables, like they all just vanished into thin air. Scientists have tried explaining it: magnetic anomalies, methane gas bubbles, rogue waves. But here's the thing: none of these theories fully explain all the cases. Some ships and planes that disappeared weren't even affected by bad weather. They just stopped existing. Think about this. Even today, with GPS, satellite tracking, and all our modern technology, things still vanish in the Bermuda Triangle. Is it some kind of natural phenomenon we don't understand? A gateway to another dimension? Or something even more sinister? And guys, if you think this is creepy, just wait till you hear about our next mystery. The story of history's most notorious serial killer who was never caught. Jack the Ripper is next. And trust me, what you're about to hear will keep you up at night. Moving from mysterious disappearances to brutal murders in the shadows of Victorian London. The year is 1888, and in the dark alleys of Whitechapel, a killer is about to become a legend: Jack the Ripper. Perhaps the most infamous serial killer in history, terrorized London's East End for just 3 months. But what he did in that short time would haunt us forever. 5 brutal murders, all women, all killed with surgical precision. And to this day, no one knows who he really was. Here's what makes this case so fascinating. The killer seemed to know exactly what he was doing. The way he cut, the way he moved through the streets, undetected. Many believe he had medical training. And get this, he even sent letters to the police, taunting them, mocking their attempts to catch him. One package even contained half a human kidney, with a note saying he ate the other half. The most chilling part? The murders stopped as suddenly as they began. September 30th to November 9th, 1888. 5 confirmed victims: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Each killed more brutally than the last. But there might have been more victims we don't know about. Over 100 suspects have been named, from royal surgeons to local butchers. Even Queen Victoria's grandson was suspected. Some say he was a doctor. Others think he was a member of the royal family. Or maybe just a local man who knew the streets well enough to vanish into the fog. The craziest part: modern investigators are still finding new clues. New theories emerge every year, but we may never know the truth. Because whoever Jack the Ripper was, he took his secret to the grave. And speaking of secrets, get ready for our next mystery. Because we're about to meet the only person who ever successfully hijacked a plane and vanished without a trace. The legend of D.B. Cooper is coming up, and trust me, this story is absolutely mind-blowing. Imagine pulling off the perfect crime in mid-air and vanishing into thin air. Literally. This is the story of D.B. Cooper, the only unsolved air piracy case in American history, and it's absolutely incredible. November 24th, 1971. Northwest Airlines Flight 305, a man in a business suit and sunglasses, boards the plane using the name Dan Cooper, orders a bourbon and soda, lights a cigarette, then hands the flight attendant a note. "I have a bomb, and I want $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes." Here's where it gets crazy. No panic, no screaming. The man was so calm and polite. Passengers didn't even know they were being hijacked. He got his money and parachutes at Seattle Airport, then ordered the plane to take off again, flying low and slow towards Mexico, somewhere over Washington State, in pitch darkness, during a thunderstorm. Cooper did something incredible. He lowered the rear stairs of the Boeing 727 and just jumped into freezing rain at 10,000 feet, wearing only a business suit and loafers, never to be seen again. The FBI searched for years. They interviewed thousands of suspects, but all they ever found was $5,800 of the marked ransom money, discovered by a young boy in 1980. The rest of the money, and Cooper himself, just vanished. Was he an experienced skydiver? A military veteran? Did he survive the jump? Or did he die in those dark woods? Some say he's still out there, living off his stolen fortune. Others think his bones are still lying somewhere in the wilderness. But here's the wildest part. The case remains open today. New evidence still surfaces, and everyone has a theory about who D.B. Cooper really was, but no one knows for sure. And speaking of mysteries from the sky, our next story is about to take us to Roswell, New Mexico, where something crashed in 1947, something that would spark the greatest UFO controversy in history. Stay tuned, because this story will make you question everything you think you know about visitors from above. July 8, 1947. Roswell, New Mexico. A headline hits the local newspaper that would change history forever. RAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. Then, just 24 hours later, the military suddenly changes its story, claiming it was just a weather balloon. But what really crashed in that desert field? Here's what we know. A rancher named Mac Brazel finds strange debris scattered across his field. Metallic material he's never seen before. Material that can't be cut, can't be burned, and returns to its original shape when crumbled. He alerts the military, and that's when things get weird. The military immediately cordons off the area. Witnesses report seeing bodies being transported, strange hieroglyphic-like markings on the debris. And get this, the original recovery team disappears for days. When they return, they refuse to talk about what they've seen. But it gets even stranger. Witnesses start changing their stories. Some say they were threatened. Others suddenly remember it differently. The base intelligence officer who first announced the flying saucer, he spends the rest of his life claiming he was forced to lie. The government sticks to its weather balloon story, then changes it in the 1990s, saying it was actually a top-secret Cold War surveillance program. But here's the thing. Why would a simple weather balloon, or even a spy balloon, require such extreme secrecy? Why were witnesses intimidated? And what about those strange materials they found? Today, Roswell is the UFO capital of the world, but the truth about what happened there remains hidden. Some say it was truly a crashed alien spacecraft. Others believe it was experimental military technology. But one thing's for sure, something happened in Roswell, something big enough to cover up, And speaking of cover-ups, get ready for our next mystery, because we're about to meet one of the most terrifying serial killers who was never caught, the Zodiac Killer, who turned murder into a twisted game and whose identity remains unknown to this day. The late 1960s, Northern California, a killer emerges who doesn't just want to murder. He wants to play a game with the police, with the media, with everyone. Welcome to the terrifying story of the Zodiac Killer, a murderer who turned death into a public spectacle. Here's what makes this case so chilling. The Zodiac didn't just kill. He sent encrypted letters to newspapers, bragging about his murders, threatening more victims, and challenging the police to catch him. He even created his own cipher, so complex that one of his messages wasn't cracked until 2020. More than 50 years later, the attacks were brutal. December 20th, 1968, a young couple shot on their first date. July 4th, 1969, another couple attacked. September 27th, a third couple. One survivor described him wearing a black executioner's hood with a white crossed circle symbol, the same symbol he used to sign his letters. But here's the really terrifying part. He claimed to have killed 37 people. Police confirmed only 7 attacks, with 5 deaths. But what about the others? Was he lying? Or are there dozens of unknown victims out there? The letters were the killer's signature, full of threats, codes, and horrifying details only the killer could know. He even sent pieces of his victim's bloody shirt as proof. One of his most chilling messages read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." The investigation was massive. Thousands of suspects, countless leads. But the Zodiac seemed to vanish, just like his ciphers. He remained unbreakable. Even with today's technology and fresh eyes on the case, his true identity remains a mystery. And speaking of mysteries at sea, our next story takes us to the strangest ghost ship in history, the Mary Celeste, found drifting in the Atlantic, with fresh food still on the tables, but not a soul on board. Get ready, because this maritime mystery will make your skin crawl. December 4th, 1872, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, a ship is spotted drifting aimlessly. The Mary Celeste, a merchant vessel that would become the most famous ghost ship in history. What the rescue crew found on board, or rather, what they didn't find, has baffled experts for over 150 years. Here's the scene they discovered. The ship was in perfect sailing condition. 6 months of food and water on board. Valuable cargo untouched. The crew's belongings still in their cabins. Their beds still warm. Half-eaten meals on the table. But the entire crew, all 10 people, including the captain's wife and 2-year-old daughter, had vanished without a trace. But it gets even stranger. The ship's log showed nothing unusual, until the final entry. 9 days before she was found. The only clue, a rope hanging off the side, and one missing lifeboat. But here's the crazy part. All their valuables were left behind. Even their pipes were still warm, like they left in a hurry, expecting to return. The theories are wild. Some say it was pirates. But why leave valuable cargo? Others suggest a giant squid attack, or a waterspout, maybe an explosion fear from the alcohol cargo. But there was no damage, no signs of panic, no signs of struggle. They just disappeared. The most chilling detail. The captain was an experienced sailor, known for being level-headed. What could have terrified him so much that he'd abandon a perfectly good ship, taking his family into rough seas in a tiny lifeboat? We may never know. But here's the eeriest part. The Mary Celeste continued sailing for 12 more years, almost like she was cursed, before finally being deliberately sunk in a failed insurance scam, taking her secrets to the bottom of the ocean. And speaking of unexplained mysteries, get ready for something truly bizarre. Because we're about to explore the Voynich Manuscript, a book written in an unknown language, filled with strange drawings that has stumped every codebreaker who's tried to crack it, including modern supercomputers. Imagine finding a book written in a language that doesn't exist, filled with drawings of plants that never existed, created by someone for some purpose that no one can figure out. That's the Voynich Manuscript, the world's most mysterious book, and it's driving experts crazy for over 600 years. Here's what makes it so mind-bending. The manuscript contains over 170,000 characters, written in an unknown alphabet, creating unknown words, following an unknown grammar. But here's the crazy part. Statistical analysis shows it follows natural language patterns, meaning someone actually wrote this. It's not just random nonsense. The illustrations are even weirder. Strange plants that don't match any known species, astronomical diagrams of things that don't exist in our sky, women bathing in green liquid, connected by elaborate pipe systems, and creatures that look like nothing on Earth, all drawn with incredible detail. Carbon dating proves it's from the 1400s. But who wrote it? And why? Some say it's an elaborate medical book. Others think it's a coded message about alchemy, maybe an alien artifact, or a medieval hoax. Even modern supercomputers can't crack its code. The craziest part? Every expert who studied it, linguists, cryptographers, code breakers, even AI systems, they all agree on one thing. This book was written with purpose and meaning, but nobody can figure out what that meaning is. But here's what's really fascinating. The more we study it, the more complex it becomes. Just when someone thinks they've cracked it, the manuscript proves them wrong, like it's taunting us across the centuries. And speaking of mysteries that taunt us, get ready for one of the creepiest stories ever documented. The Dyatlov Pass Incident, where 9 experienced hikers died in the most bizarre and unexplainable circumstances. In the frozen mountains of Russia. Trust me, this one will keep you up at night. February 1959. In the frozen Ural Mountains of Russia, 9 experienced hikers venture into the wilderness. What happened next would become one of the most baffling mysteries in history, because something made these seasoned outdoors people flee from their tent in terror into the freezing night, half naked, to their deaths. Here's where it gets absolutely terrifying. On February 26th, search teams found their tent sliced open from the inside, all their equipment still there, their boots still there, but the hikers gone. The scene looked like they had cut their way out and ran into the snow, in socks or barefoot, in temperatures of 30 degrees. The bodies were found over the next few months, and this is where it becomes nightmare fuel. 2 bodies by a campfire, nearly naked. 3 more in poses suggesting they were trying to return to camp. But the other 4, found 2 months later in a ravine, and their injuries made absolutely no sense. One had major skull damage, another had her eyes and tongue missing. But here's the truly bizarre part. Their injuries were described as similar to being hit by a car, but they were on a mountain with crushing force, but no external injuries. Some of their clothes were radioactive, and witnesses reported strange orange lights in the sky that night. The official Soviet investigation, while listed their cause of death as a compelling natural force, that's it. No explanation, no details, just something forced them out. Something so terrifying that these experienced hikers chose certain death in the cold over staying in their tent. Theories range from avalanches to military testing to alien encounters to infrasound-induced panic, but none fully explain all the strange elements. The radioactivity, the bizarre injuries, the missing soft tissues, the look of terror frozen on their faces. And speaking of mysterious disappearances, our next story is a modern mystery that shows even with all our technology, things can still vanish without a trace. The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 A Boeing 777 that seemed to simply vanish into thin air. March 8, 2014, a modern Boeing 777 with 239 people aboard takes off from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Then somehow, in an age of constant satellite tracking, GPS, and radar coverage, just disappears. This isn't a story from the 1940s. This happened in our time, and it's still unexplained. Here's what makes this so mind-blowing. The plane didn't just vanish. It deliberately turned off course. All communication systems gradually went dark, one by one, like someone knew exactly what they were doing. Then it flew for 7 more hours, in the opposite direction, into the vast Indian Ocean. The search became the largest and most expensive in aviation history. 43 ships, 58 aircraft, 26 countries involved, costing over $200 million. But here's the creepy part. All they found were a few pieces of debris, washing up on beaches thousands of miles apart. The main wreckage, the black boxes, the passengers, nothing. The theories are endless. Pilot suicide, hijacking, government conspiracy, but none explain all the weird details, like why the pilot's home flight simulator had deleted data showing a similar route, or why the plane's final satellite communications showed it was diving, then climbing, then diving again. What's even more chilling, in this modern world of constant surveillance, a massive aircraft carrying hundreds of people can still completely disappear without anyone knowing exactly what happened, or where it went, or why. And speaking of unexplained phenomena, our final mystery might be the strangest of all. The Toas hum, a mysterious sound that only certain people can hear, driving them crazy, while others hear nothing at all, and nobody can find its source. Imagine hearing a constant humming sound, day and night, driving you slowly mad. But when you ask others about it, they hear nothing. That's the Toas hum, a mysterious low-frequency sound that's been tormenting people in New Mexico and around the world for decades. Here's the weird part. Only about 2% of the population can hear it. These hearers describe it as a diesel engine idling in the distance, or a low, distant rumble that never, ever stops. Even inside soundproof rooms, the sound follows them. Some people have gone so far as to move away. Others have been driven to the edge of sanity. Scientists have investigated for years, using sophisticated equipment. But here's what's baffling. They can't find the source. Some blame industrial equipment, underground facilities, secret military testing, even alien technology. But none of these explain why only certain people can hear it. The most fascinating part? Similar hums have been reported worldwide. In Bristol, England, Windsor, Ontario, Auckland, New Zealand. Different places, same mysterious sound. Always described the same way. Always heard by the same percentage of people. What makes it even stranger? Most hearers are between 55 and 70 years old, and most of them hear the exact same frequency, around 33 Hz, just below human hearing range. But here's the crazy thing. When scientists try to record it, they get nothing. Is it mass hysteria? A natural phenomenon? Or something more sinister? The Toas hum remains one of science's most puzzling mysteries, proving that even in our modern world, some things still defy explanation. And there you have it, folks. 10 of the world's most baffling unsolved mysteries. From vanishing planes to ghostly ships. From mysterious manuscripts to unexplainable sounds. These cases remind us that our world still holds secrets, still keeps mysteries, still has the power to make us wonder. Which of these mysteries intrigued you the most? What theories do you have? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed these unsolved mysteries, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Because trust me, There are plenty more unexplained stories to tell. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and remember, sometimes the greatest mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved. See you in the next video.